Hi, my name is Rahaf Alharbi. I'm a PhD candidate at the University of Michigan, and I'm excited to present my paper titled Accessibility Barriers, Conflicts, and Repairs, Understanding the Experience of Professionals with Disabilities in Hybrid Meeting. This paper is co-authored with Tang at Microsoft Research and Karl Henderson at Microsoft. People with disabilities are underrepresented in the workplace. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, only 21.3% of people with disabilities were employed in 2022. And this is in comparison to 65.4% of non-disabled people. In part, this discrepancy could be because workplaces are inaccessible. Past HCI literature highlighted both the social and technical breakdowns that cause access barriers in fully in-person settings. When the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic first started, we witnessed a mass transition to fully remote meetings. And HCI scholarship identified some accessibility barriers, such as added cognitive load for professionals with disabilities. Ultimately, they found that professionals with disabilities often performed invisible access labor to fix such barriers. Now we're at the cusp of a new transition to hybrid work, which includes hybrid meetings that are a mix of both in-person and remote attendees. Building from past research, our work raises and explores the following question. What are the experiences of professionals with disabilities in hybrid meetings? I'm going to briefly describe how we went about answering the research question, and if you're interested in more details, I do encourage you to read our paper. We conducted 60 to 90 minutes in-depth interviews to understand access in hybrid meetings. We analyzed the data by using a reflexive thematic approach. We recruited 21 participants with various disabilities. 8 are blind and low vision, 7 are neurodivergent, 6 have mobility disability or chronic illness, and 5 are deaf and hard of hearing. In this talk, I'm going to share our key findings around accessibility barriers, conflicts, and repairs. Starting with accessibility barriers, one of the main issues was delay between in-person and remote attendees. So when people are sharing the same physical space, they can naturally converse with each other. But with those attending remotely, they often experience a delay in communication. And this can make remote attendees feel excluded, regardless of whether they have a disability or not. However, delay can have even greater implications for professionals with disabilities, as illustrated by P21's experience. So P21 is deaf and communicates using sign language. They often attend hybrid meetings remotely and use video relay service to access sign language interpretation. The interpreters are on a separate video call on P21's phone, which causes significant delay. As P21 explains, and I quote, "There is like a 2 or 3 second delay with the interpreter listening to the message, processing it, and interpreting it. And at the same time, I'm behind, so I won't be able to put my own input to the meeting." P21 experiences 2 layers of delay, one from using sign language interpretation and the other from attending a hybrid meeting remotely. Also, this delay is not visible to meeting attendees since the interpreter is on a separate call. And this makes it even more challenging for everyone to co-manage issues of delay together, leaving P21 to feel left out and unable to contribute to the meeting. Another barrier participants experienced was when attending hybrid meetings in person. Past work discussed how professionals with disabilities put significant effort to make their home offices accessible. In our study, participants who are legally blind or have low vision talked about purchasing large specialized hardware to be able to accessibly and comfortably engage in remote meetings. However, carrying heavy hardware such as large screens across different conference rooms is highly impractical. So P19, a professional with low vision, told us that they use their mobile phone to also join meetings virtually when attending in person. P19 does this so they could comfortably magnify shared content. But because using a phone at work may incorrectly signal that they're distracted, P19 sometimes received ignorant and hurtful comments from colleagues. P19 said, and I quote, "They made wonderfully horrible comments about how it would be great if everyone was paying attention and staying off their phone. And I don't want to interrupt a meeting and be like, I'm not being rude, you're being inaccessible to me right now. So you're failing, not me." While P19 preferred using their phone to view shared content, it subjected them to further marginalization at work. In addition to access challenges, our analysis revealed moments of access conflict, which is when one person's access need becomes an access barrier for someone else. So for example, smart cameras are the latest technologies for hybrid meeting. It spotlights active speakers in conference rooms to remote attendees. And some participants mentioned how smart cameras are an access benefit. P7 said, and I quote, "Seeing the person's face helps me pair that with what I remember their voice sounds like. And then I think it's easier for me to pick up on what they're saying." Other neurodivergent participants agreed that smart cameras help with access. However, while P20 acknowledges some access benefits, they told us that smart cameras often induce motion sickness. They said, and I quote, "Smart cameras are automatically trying to do that motion, always trying to adjust the angle a little bit to make sure the faces are centered. And I'm like, dude, no." The jitteriness and constant movement of smart cameras trigger motion sickness for P20, and they end up feeling nauseous. Our analysis highlights access conflicts when using smart cameras. Finally, in the face of hybrid meetings barriers and conflicts, professionals with disabilities found creative ways to resolve such issues. Some participants talked about discussing access needs with their team members periodically as they arise. P4 explained, "Access isn't something you do once, it's an iterative process." However, participants also acknowledged that there are different situations that make disclosing access needs difficult. For example, if a hybrid meeting included senior folks or managers or customers, some participants avoided raising access issues. P3 told us, and I quote, "You don't want to basically embarrass them by calling them out for being not inclusive." So taking a step back, what do all these findings teach us about access in hybrid meetings? We found that access needs and conflicts vary based on whether someone was attending a hybrid meeting remotely or in person. We also found that the visibility and invisibility of access labor in hybrid meetings can have both positive and negative effects. On one hand, if access labor, like assistive technologies or interpreters, is hidden from view, it can be difficult for professionals with disabilities to fully participate. On the other hand, if access labor is visible, it can sometimes lead to stigma or negative comments from colleagues. So it is important to recognize and understand these complex dynamics when it comes to making meetings accessible for everyone. And lastly, while there are many access tensions, participants came up with various strategies to deal with these issues. They distributed labor among their colleagues, and this helped shift imbalances in access labor. But it was imperfect and often required participants with disabilities to negotiate power dynamics. We conclude with offering practical access and design recommendations. At an individual level, we recommend that video conferencing companies enable users with more control over their viewing experience. For example, giving remote users the option to turn off dynamic rendering of smart cameras and view static versions would address some access conflicts. We also provide collective changes, such as fostering a team that celebrates and welcomes conversations around access at all times, before, during, and after hybrid meetings. Finally, we believe that there is opportunity to build socio-technical systems that support access check-ins, such as pop-up reminders to practice access during meetings and automatically generated access reports afterwards. Thank you for listening to our talk. I do encourage you to read our paper and email us if you have any questions.